Okay, in this video you're going to do more simplifying with x, but these are a little more complicated, okay? In the first problem, you have x to the negative 15th power. You're going to start seeing some exponents that are negative, and then x to the positive second power. So I have a factor of x and a factor of x. So you have negative 15 on top, 2 on bottom. Now, what's smaller, negative 15 or positive 2? It's negative 15. You don't know that. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, negative smaller than a positive. So you take that out and you subtract, but you have to subtract negative 15. If I have to subtract a negative, I usually just put a parenthesis around it and go plus plus. 2 plus 15 is 17, so we have x to the 17th power. So x to the 17th, 1 over it. Okay, next one, we have x to the negative 25th power divided by x to the negative 10th power. So you have a factor of x on each side. What's smaller, a negative 25 or a negative 10? Negative 25 is smaller than negative 10. Okay, when you have two negatives, the larger negative is always the smaller one, so that's the one you take out. Write those down first. So subtract, parentheses, negative 25. Make a plus plus on that one, and then do negative 10 plus 25. It's going to be 15. Negative 10 plus 25 is. So x to the power of 15 with a 1 over it. Okay, my next problem, we just have same thing, x over x. There's on bottom there's just the one factor with a negative 10. Here's what the problem says to the virtual people. On top, we have x to the negative 10th power, and on bottom, under the division line, we have x to the second power times x to the negative third power. Now on top you got x to the negative 10th. On bottom you have two factors of x, which means we need to take 2 and plus the negative 3. 2 plus negative 3 is negative 1. Okay, so we have x to the negative 10, x to the negative first. Which one is smaller? Remember, if you have two negatives, the larger the negative is, then that's the smaller one. So this is your smaller one. You take that out. It's a negative 10. Okay. So I put minus parentheses negative 10. So negative 1 minus negative 10 is the same as negative 1 plus plus 10, and that's 9, x to the 9th. Okay, next problem, we have a big division line. On top we have x to the negative third power times x to the 10th power. And then under the line you have x to the negative first power times x to the negative 21st power. So I have a negative third, a 10th, a negative second, and a negative 21st. Okay. So you have two factors of x on each side. Still it's x over x. So on top we have negative 3 plus 10. Negative 3 plus 10 is 7. On bottom you're going to have a negative 1 plus a negative 21. Negative 1 plus negative 21 is negative 22. So I have a positive 7th power and a negative 22nd power. The smaller one's obviously the negatives, and negatives always smaller than a positive. Okay, so you cross that out and put minus negative 22. So plus plus 7 plus 22 is 29. Now you're like, do I have to put a 1 there? No, you don't have to put it on bottom. It's got to be on top if you put it. Okay, next one, division line, x to the negative second on top, x to the negative fourth on bottom. So x. If you have two negative, and then the negative second, the negative fourth, I put those down here. This is smaller than this, okay? So I subtract negative 4 minus parentheses negative 4. So plus plus, and then negative 2 plus 4 is 2. So you have x to the second right there. You don't, if the bottoms doesn't have anything, you don't have to put anything. It's the top that you need a 1 if you have it. Okay, x 16, x to the 20th. 16, 20. 16th, 20th. Now they're both positive, so it's just like normal. Okay, take out the 16. 20 minus 16 is 4. So you got x to the 4th with 1 over it. Okay, next one. We have one division line. On top of it, you have x to the second. Underneath it, you have x to the negative 10th. Then times. I got another division line. On top of it, we have x to the negative 4th. Underneath it, we have x to the positive 12th. Remember, with multiplying fractions, I just make it into 1. So we have a second, a negative 4th, a negative 10th, a 12th. So we have a factor of x on top, 2 of them, so it's 2 plus negative 4. And that's negative 2. Then on bottom you have 2 factors as well. So we take the negative 10 plus the 12. Negative 10 plus 12 is 2. Common sense, if I have a negative 2 and a positive 2, the negative 2 is smaller. Okay. So I minus, not 2, it's got to be negative 2. Minus parentheses negative 2. So plus plus, 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay. So we have x to the 4th with a 1 over it. Tell you what, cross out this 1. Doesn't need to be there. Okay. Actually, never mind. Keep it there, but we're eventually going to just get rid of it. You can get rid of a 1. If it's a 3 there, you wouldn't be able to. Or actually, no, keep the 1. Sorry, I can't make up my mind. So you have x to the 6th on top of the division line, x to the 8th underneath it, times dot, then you got a division line with 1 and x to the 2nd. So you have a 6th, an 8, and a 2nd. The 1 is not an exponent. Okay, now extend the fraction line. So on top you have 2 factors, an x and a 1. So x to the 6th, and then 1 is just to the 1st if you want to put it there. Okay. Now in the denominator you've got x, and then 8 plus 2. Okay, 8 plus 2 is 10. Okay, so we have x to the 6th, x to the 10th. Well, 6 is smaller than 10, so we take out 6, and then just minus 6. Now, if you're saying, why isn't it minus negative? It's because it ain't a negative, it's a 6, okay? So minus 6. So 10 minus 6 is 4. Okay, so x to the 4th on bottom, and then 1 to the 1st becomes just 1, okay?